I think as people across the world, we all need to do a humanitarian mission to go to Spain and hug all of those poor, angry people over there. Because somebody after this movie needs a fucking hug. Okay, so the coffee table has been making its way around, and now look, every year and every so often when movie season starts, I hear the idiots of TikTok go, "This movie was so scary. I couldn't handle it. This movie is so terrifying. Literally, this is the grossest thing ever conceived by man. This is the worst movie ever. Don't, under any circumstances, watch this movie." And we know why TikTok does it. It's because they're terrible over there and they got nothing to do. And they need people to be hyped up about a certain thing. So there's this movie that's made its rounds called The Coffee Table. And in Spanish, it's La Mesa del Comedor, which is the dining room's small table. So I'm going to give you a brief explanation before I absolutely have to do spoilers, because honestly, I can't tell you guys about this movie and what makes this movie so fucked up without actually telling you what the movie is really about. Because unlike most movies, this movie's climax happens in the first 15 minutes of the film. And here was going, so it's odd. If it happens in the first 15 minutes of the film, then what's the big deal? Why is TikTok freaking out? Well, the thing is, it's not the action of what happens in this movie that makes this movie fucked up. And I'll explain. And you know what? I said a broken clock gets it right twice a day in my tweet out about how TikTok was losing their shit over this movie. And I think they are actually right this time around. But I'm going to explain that they've been kind of framing this movie as a violent movie, and it's really not, actually. There is violence. There is some things I'll warn you about before I get into what this movie's actually about. But this movie's not very violent at all. There is a scene of violence. I think it's poorly marketed as if you, hey, what's up? Are you going to see a movie that you like? Oh yeah, this is actually a good. I actually did like this movie. It's a fucked up movie, but it's a very well acted movie. I'll get into my reasons, but and I actually am going to see Furiosa this weekend. I am a big fan of Mad Max, so yes, Christine, I will finally get to see a movie that I like. Oh, and I love Anya Taylor-Joy, so I'm very, I'm going to be cautiously optimistic. I'll give you guys my out of theater reaction, but I am going to see Furiosa. And I am super excited about it. It's actually another one of my anticipated movies for this year. So fingers crossed I actually see a movie that I want to see. But The Coffee Table was actually good. But so I saw this out of curiosity. TikTok was like, hey, Lemon Pie, what's up? TikTok was like, this is the scariest movie ever. This movie will knock your socks off. Now, look, if you guys don't want spoilers, you don't have to stay. But I would suggest this is a movie, honestly, and I mean this, not to hype this up, because I'm not a TikToker. I'm not that guy who goes, oh my God, guys, whatever you do, don't see this. This will disturb you. But I would suggest with this movie, if this movie interests you, you should hear my spoiler critique first before you watch this movie. Because it's not this movie is gory, it's not this movie is violent, but the subject matter to which this movie talks about is very disturbing. And I say this as a father. And I don't know what the fuck is up with the Spanish people. I watched one of my favorite horror movies, if you guys remember, I think it was 2022, was When Evil Lurks. these people need a fucking hug or something. I don't know what's going on in Spain, but they got some fucking issues they have to work out. The funniest part is this is labeled as a black comedy. There is not shit funny about this, and I'll tell you when I get into my synopsis. So, if you are sensitive about certain subjects, I would honestly say stay for this critique. Find out what this movie is about before you watch it. But if what I'm about to talk about doesn't disturb you, then I would honestly suggest watching this. But also, you probably want to watch a comedy after this because this movie is pretty fucking bleak. So what is this movie about? Now, going into this, I thought it was going to be a haunted, like, coffee table because obviously the fucking title is The Coffee Table. Little did I know what this movie was actually about. So this movie is shot in one location, and it has it's directed by Kayan Kesse, and I'm sorry if I butcher this because I'm not very good with regular fucking names from people around here. So sorry about that. And it stars David Parja and Estefan de los Santos. Okay. So this is essentially shot in one location until about the end, maybe two. There is the store, but the premise is that there is a couple, and they are all happy together. They're getting some furniture. It's alluded to the fact that they have some troubles. It's Maria and Jesus. That's his, or Jesus. We'll say Maria and Jesus. Some people say Jesus, whatever. They are a couple. They are going to buy something for the house. They want a new coffee table. And the husband and the wife, you could tell that they are having issues. And so the husband wants this coffee table. And picture the movie A Christmas Story with the husband who gets the lamp with the girl on it and the wife fucking hates the lamp. That's this coffee table. So he gets this coffee table. It's got like these naked girls on the side with the glass in the middle. It is quite hideous coffee table. And the wife doesn't want him to have it. But he basically pulls out all the stops to get this fucking coffee table and says some pretty foul shit, as we do when we get angry. And she's like, fine, fuck it, get this coffee table. And now, this is labeled as a black comedy. And I just want to stop everyone who sees this and think it is not a comedy unless you have some sick fucking dark humor. This is not a comedy. Like, certain aspects, like in the beginning when they're arguing, when they're going for this coffee table, there is some funny jokes being thrown around. But what I'll get into later, and what is considered a very, very dark comedy, it's this situational stuff. And then, for me at least, I don't have that sick of humor, but the very ending is like a straight up not funny to me whatsoever. But long story short, they get this hideous coffee table, and now I want to just give a warning to everyone. This is a big thing that I felt like I needed to spoil this so you know what you're getting into, unlike I did when you watched this movie. So this guy, he's not a bad guy, but he's clearly not ready to be a father. They have this like 2-year-old kid, or newborn, he's young. He's not walking age. He's newborn, you got to pick him up, do the thing. And the mother wants to have the brother over with his wife for like a little get together, tells the father to watch the baby. He's been dealing with this fucking coffee table all day. He can't get this coffee table together. Now he's got it very somewhat assembled, except for like one screw in the corner that he hasn't screwed in because the coffee table didn't come with the screw that he needed. Puts the kid on the table, and you guys can guess what happens. Now, what makes this really fucked up is the fact that they don't show everything, but they show you enough to know what happens. And once again, one more time, trigger warning, this shit is heavy. he put the newborn on the coffee table that wasn't assembled. So use your imagination what happened. But needless to say, the kid died. And while they don't show you the full death, throughout the movie, you see enough to know what happened to the kid. And about this point in the film was where I realized TikTok may not have gotten this one wrong. Because the tension that comes from this movie, and now people are saying it's gross and disturbing, and like, look, they do show things here and there, but that's not what's disturbing about this movie. And I think the kids don't know what to put. This movie is literally nonstop fucking tension from beginning to end, because the movie doesn't end with the kid dying. The rest of the movie is about him trying to first keep this from his wife, who couldn't conceive kids, had a child, and then he killed the child, and trying to figure out what he's going to do about it. That's the tension of this movie. Now, there are some graphic scenes that are shown here and there, but I think the misconception around this movie is this movie is actually all about tension. From the moment that this accident happens till the end of the movie, the whole thing that's got everybody talking about this film is that this movie is the definition of leaving you in a tense situation. It's one of those things where it drops you into this holy shit situation, and you want to know how he is going to resolve this. And as we go through, you find out that the guy isn't really a bad guy. He does come off as an asshole in the beginning of this, but it kind of gets more and more miserable. And now, super spoilers, but I feel I've got to really tell you what the end of this film is, because I want to tell you all right now, I walked into this fucking blind. I would not want to walk anybody in this movie blind, and I would want to fully prepare you so that you are 100% sure if you want to watch this fucking movie or not. And if you do, nothing I've said will really ruin the feeling. You'll just be more prepared for the fucked up shit that happens in this movie. So, when the kid went through the coffee table and they showed what they showed, which kudos to the director. They don't go crazy with it. They show you just enough to understand the dilemma the man's in. Goes to the neighbor's house, tries to clean the blood up before he gets home. Shenanigans ensue. And this is where they say it's a black comedy, because there are some comedic things that happen. Although by this point, you're in such a fucking state of tension because this man just killed his wife's kid, and you know they can't have any more kids. And she really loves this kid, and it's building to this. Either he's got to reveal what happened to his wife, or he's got to try to hide it. And so he gets to a point where he's going to take himself out of the equation permanently. And as he's talking about doing this, his brother-in-law his brother and his sister-in-law have come over for this dinner, which he, oh God. So he left certain evidence of the kid under the couch. His brother-in-law is there, and he hears him talking about, and so he asks him, "What the fuck, dude?" And he's like, tells him everything. And the brother-in-law goes and sees, and he goes, "Okay, look, you got to tell your wife what happened. We got to rip the Band-Aid off. So this is how we're going to do it. We'll wait till everybody's done. You got to get the head of the baby, and then we've got to drive your wife out, so if she has a mental breakdown, we could get her help." I was like, that's a pretty solid plan. But the wife goes, and she hears this conversation happening. And so now, the end of this fucking movie, the wife, I don't know how to say this on YouTube without getting in trouble, but let's just say she takes the permanent way out with the kid's head. The husband takes the dive after her. The brother is fucked for life, and his wife, the sister-in-law, has to be hospitalized. And that's the resolution of this fucking movie. And so that's why I wanted to tell you guys what the end of this film is, because you really need to be prepared. Because if you are a parent or you have an extreme, like, if this kind of subject matter bothers you, I would not suggest fucking watching this movie ever. And so I think the horror from this movie, and don't get me wrong, honestly, this is a brilliant movie. Because the point isn't the violence behind it. The director could have gone nuts and shown you gory details, but what this director does well, and I think what really has people talking about this movie, is this movie leaves you in tension like nothing I've seen this year. And I honestly 100% mean that. I have never watched a movie that has kept me in literal tension for like 45 minutes, because the first 15 minutes is the event that happens. They normally save that shit to the end. Like, no, the thing that is the problem happens in the beginning of the film. But what the director holds off on is the resolution to this situation, and he keeps you in fucking suspense for an uncomfortable amount of time. And I think that's what really has, like, people can't put a word on it. So they're saying it's gory, it's gross. And don't get me wrong, the way it's shown and some of the things that are shown are kind of disturbing. But this isn't like they're showing crazy shit. Really, it's the psychological stuff behind this and the subject matter itself that I think is going to really disturb people, or you're really going to vibe with it. And also, there is a final shot, because I didn't want to give everything away. I just wanted to give that little part away, because if you're sensitive about that, then this is not the movie for you. But if that stuff doesn't bother you, there is an interesting message behind this movie, because it's not just gore for the sake of gore. There is something to be said about couples and the things that we go through. And there's a shot in particular at the end of the film that I wouldn't want to spoil, but it really solidifies the overall message that had this couple actually gotten along, had they worked shit out, that they would have avoided this tragedy. And this isn't even on the mother. The mother or the wife does say fucked up shit, but it's really neglect of both parents that causes this tragedy. And it's a hard thing to say in a movie. And it's even harder to portray something where you show each person equally not paying attention. And I think that what the director does really well in this movie is not lay the blame on one person or the other, but it's like a real relationship. It's like a real tragedy. And I think the most haunting scene is the last 5 minutes of this movie, because the last 5 minutes of this movie shows something that's either really going to confuse people or drive home the point of what this movie is. And at the end of the day, I saw this movie as, like, look, the wife and the husband, Jesus and Maria, they clearly weren't ready to be parents. I think he would have been a good father, given like what his response is to this whole situation. But it's really, he was too young when this happened. I don't think she was really ready when this happened. And I think the hardest thing about this movie is it shows kind of the things in relationships that you fix when it's too late, or feelings you access when something happens that you should have had before. And that last shot to me was what got me, because it's so strikingly haunting. And it's beautiful and ironic at the same time. And so, yeah, that's the coffee table. And that's why I kind of had to give little spoilers here and there. Now, I didn't lay out everything that happens because there's much more, and this gets super fucking dark. And there is some comedic stuff that happens, but I'd say it's more situational comedy. I think it is, it's definitely not very haha funny. This is situational humor, and fucking Spain needs help. Like they need hugs over there. Like Jesus Christ, people, like fucking morbid. But anyways, and with all that being said, now I give this movie a 9 out of 10. Like, because at the end of the day, this is a really good movie. And I mean, this is a really good movie. I can't say a movie sucks that kept me on the edge of my seat literally for like 45, 50 minutes. Like, that's just not true. Is this a movie I revisit? No, not like willingly, but like if I want to show my friends something really fucked up, I definitely play this movie. Yeah, this movie's definitely a 9 for me. Like, this movie is the definition of suspense. And I think what got people talking about it, and don't believe the fucking TikTokers. It's not like the goriest movie of the year. I've seen fucking gorier in the beginning of this year alone. The thing that will get people, and why I wanted to warn people before you think about watching this, but suggest if you can handle the situations, it's a good watch, is the subject matter. Like, when it comes to kids and kids being hurt and tragedies like that, I think it's going to resonate with different people. But I also like the message that was in here, because it wasn't just blood-filled, no point. There is a very clear point to this movie, and it is saying a lot about relationships and kids and respecting one another. And I like the fact that the movie doesn't throw it off on one person or the other. It's very clear by the end of the movie, both these people fucked up, which kind of kicks off everything that happens. The dude did fuck up more than his wife, but it was everything that happened that led up to this point where they both could have paid more attention to their kid and tried to work it out with each other, as opposed to always being antagonistic. And for me, that's the point I picked up in the film. I heard a lot of other different theories, especially the last shot in the end is a little bit confusing to what people think. And like I said, I'm not going to spoil that, but I think it really, either people choose to see it one way or another. But yeah, this movie will make you think. This movie will make you fucking depressed. And if stuff with like newborns bugs you, then yeah, you probably don't want to watch this movie. And it's why I did want to spoil some of the stuff that happens so that people don't go into this if you're really fucking like hyper like sensitive about that stuff. That's why I wanted to put it. But don't believe all of what you hear on TikTok. This isn't like a super gory movie. This isn't like fucking Terrifier or some shit where people's body parts are getting hacked off. This isn't that kind of movie. What this is like on a fundamental emotional level, this movie will just wreck you emotionally, especially if you're a parent. This will be fucking hard to watch. But I watched it and I thought it was a good movie. And I'll give it a 9 out of 10. I won't ever fucking watch it again, but it's a 9 out of 10. That's why it's not a 10. Because for me, a perfect movie is something I'd be able. I can't throw this shit in. Like, I might watch it with someone, but I definitely won't watch this on my own again. And honestly, if I didn't have a channel, I probably wouldn't have watched it in the first place. But having watched it, it's not a Serbian movie or all this other crazy shit. It's just very bleak and very hard to watch. So thank you, everybody, for watching. Hopefully, I gave you a gist of what this movie was about. I give it a 9 out of 10. Definitely, if you have a strong constitution and you could deal with a very, very, very young infant dying, then I think you'd be able to watch this movie and be just fine. It is good despite its subject matter. It's a really good movie. It has something to say. It has a point, and it's a 9 out of 10. This might actually make my top 10 horror list. It was very good. It was very good. It's just a really tough watch. And TikTok, calm the fuck down. I mean, honestly, do you guys know what like the goriest horror movie is? Like back in my day, it was like Dead Alive. Like that was fucking gory. Like, oh my god. Anyways, that's why I don't fucking do TikTok. Jesus Christ. Anyways, you guys, thank you very much for watching. I'm going to have my Barry season 3 review coming out. Probably not today, but maybe sometime tomorrow. And it is going to be called Forgiveness and Consequences. The analysis of season 3. And I will also have me and Pop Culture PB will watch The Strangers Part 2, Strangers Pray at Night. So we're going to watch that together because he's already watched the first movie. It should be fun. And this Wednesday, we are going to do a tier list. So check us out on Wednesday. It'll be me, Pop Culture PB, Justin Proper, and Chris Knight from The Real Reviews 3000. But anyways, thank you very much. Click that like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Make sure to share this video around. Tell people about it. And yeah, thank you for sticking around if you did. For my review of the coffee table.